for the launch of the UNDP, AFCIA, and UNEP-CTCN AFCIA Impact Reports. We're really delighted to have you all here and delighted especially to have such a strong global audience. My name is Alyssa Gomez, and I'm a climate change specialist at the Adaptation Fund's Programming and Innovation Unit, and I'm going to be your moderator for the session. Just a few housekeeping rules before we begin. Please keep all your microphones muted. Feel free to turn on your cameras. You can use the chat box to share any questions you might have, and we will get to them throughout the webinar or at the dedicated Q&A session. And finally, today's session is being recorded. For those that are new to the Adaptation Fund Climate Innovation Accelerator Program, or AFCIA as we call it, is an initiative that was established by the Adaptation Fund, and it was launched in 2020 in partnership with UNDP and UNEP-CTCN. The program is especially geared towards financing small grant projects focusing on locally led and locally driven innovation in developing countries. In today's session, we will hear reflections from various partners. We will also walk through some key lessons and findings from both the impact reports and listen directly from our AFCIA grantees. We will close the session with a Q&A and some reflections. In the interest of time, we will first start with our first segment, which relates to the opening remarks. We will first hear some pre-recorded remarks from Saliha Durbazik, who is the lead for programming and innovation at the Adaptation Fund and a senior climate change specialist.
Distinguished colleagues, partners, and hosts from the United Nations Development Program and United Nations Environment Program, along with Climate Technology Center and Network, and other champions of climate resilience, and many friends. It is an honor to stand here on behalf of the Adaptation Fund as we mark a much anticipated milestone, the launch of the AFCIA Phase 1 Impact Reports. What these reports show is that innovation, particularly when locally led, is one of the most powerful tools against climate change. Across the Global South, the first phase of AFCIA has delivered results that have exceeded our early expectations, such as empowering communities and reaching millions of people worldwide, supporting a diversity of grassroots innovations that range from floating farms to digital fisheries platforms, restoring landscapes. Together, these initiatives have restored or protected tens of thousands of hectares of land, directly improving the livelihoods of tens of thousands of households, and driving financial sustainability. Very impressively, the UNDP report has found that 59% of the supported organizations are now generating revenue, moving from grant dependence to sustainable business models. These projects have already unlocked nearly $4 million in follow-on funding. From indigenous seed banks to picture-based insurance for smallholder farmers, AFCIA has shown that some of the most effective adaptation happens when modern technologies are coupled with and work with traditional knowledge, and when women, youth, and cooperatives lead the way. These reports contain more than just data. They are a roadmap for the future. As AFCIA continues to grow with new partners like World Food Programme, UNIDO, and Pacific Community and others, the lessons captured by UNDP and UNEP-CTCN will help guide the next steps. We have seen that small, flexible grants paired with technical coaching and investment brokering can unlock massive potential. Our commitment remains firm to foster an inclusive adaptation ecosystem where ideas coming from vulnerable communities have a chance to become solutions. When we launched the Adaptation Fund Climate Innovation Accelerator at COP25 in Madrid, our goal was bold: to bridge a gap in climate finance by empowering local actors to test, gather evidence, and scale groundbreaking adaptation solutions. A few months later, the AFCIA program started implementation under the most unusual circumstances. We found ourselves in the thick of a global pandemic with an outlook that was anything but certain. And yet, over the years, these programs have proven resilient and popular and in great demand. And the model of extending finance to reach innovators we otherwise would not have been able to is one that I believe has proven its worth and is very much needed today. The value of the lessons that have come out of this experience has been enormous. We hope that these lessons will be useful far and wide, and that these reports add a solid brick to the fort of knowledge about innovation for adaptation and resilience. For our part, the Adaptation Fund is committed to supporting vulnerable countries and communities in finding creative solutions to the challenges of today, and we look forward to our continued involvement in this important and exciting work. Thank you.
Saliha gave us a very good bird's eye view of the program and a flavor of what is to come. We will now hear from Angel Guterres, who is the European Commission's Directorate General for International Partnerships, Principal Administrator. The European Union is also a funder of the AFCIA UNDP program and the fund and provided some top-up funding to the initial funding provided by the Adaptation Fund. Angel, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Lisa, and welcome again. We were already this morning in Europe, but also again in this afternoon. And good morning and good afternoon to all of you, because I see that you're indeed again from all over the planet. And delighted to be here today again in this event supported under the program with AFCIA and on scaling local adaptation in the Global South. Today is, I think, a very good opportunity to share, to understand well what we have achieved, and then also our support and the lessons learned, but also obtain information on different programs and locally led solutions to adaptation. Adaptation is indeed the key for the European Union, and it's recognized as a challenge to adapt to the impacts of climate change. For that reason, the European Union has established since 2021 a EU adaptation strategy in order to become climate resilient by 2050. This EU adaptation strategy has also an external dimension where we address also the special needs, circumstances of developing countries, especially LDCs and small island developing states. You support efforts in order to scale up adaptation finance and also engaging constructively with developing countries to address barriers and constraints for adaptation finance. Through the European Commission, we have also joined efforts with the Adaptation Fund and to support climate change adaptation all over the world. And I also wanted to mention that in this respect, we have provided a grant to the Adaptation Fund of 100 million to contribute to the different projects and initiatives supported by the Adaptation Fund. And today also we are celebrating this event that it's close to the end of a project supported with the UNDP, where we have also provided 10 million euro grant to co-finance this project. So adaptation is indeed a global challenge, but adaptation starts at local level. So this is initiatives that must start and be led at local level. And for this reason, it's important that today we will have these examples of inclusive, locally owned and participative initiatives where we will have experiences and examples of how we reach solutions at local level. AFCIA has been developing this partnership with the local grantees and also implementing national and local adaptation plans and strategies And this is crucial indeed to achieve the goals we have marked under the project. But we need also to understand that adaptation is a dynamic process. It's indeed context sensitive, and it's based on local and regional specificities. So there is no a single solution, but we can indeed learn from each other on what are the priorities, what are the options available, and also what are the needs that we need to address. With UNDP, Adaptation Fund, Climate Innovation Accelerator. So we have also got today the chance to get acquainted with locally led initiatives that this program has supported in different regions of the world, and also fostering innovative adaptation practices, tools, technologies, and also in different countries and different communities and all over the world and in different regions. So I would like to thank again the different partners today, Adaptation Fund, in UNDP, of course, UNEP-CTCN as well, and also especially the UNDP AFCIA team for their great work and achievements. And I'm happy also that today we can share these experiences to continue support to local communities and fostering more collaboration between different grantees and partners. So in this respect, I hope we can also contribute to create a more resilient and sustainable future for all. So let's continue to learn from each other, share experiences, and act together to protect our planet and the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Angel, and thank you to the European Union for dedicated support towards locally led adaptation and innovation. We are very proud of the support from the EU. We will now move on to Radhika Dave, who is the UNDP's Climate Change Adaptation Senior Technical Advisor, to provide some opening remarks. Radhika, over to you.
Thank you, Alyssa. Good morning and afternoon, everyone. It's a real pleasure to be here today. And I'd like to begin by thanking the Adaptation Fund in the European Union, as well as UNEP-CTCN and AFCIA grantees and partners for your support and your partnership, and to everyone participating in the launch of the AFCIA Impact Reports today. As UNDP, we are also thrilled to host this event as a second in a series of Adaptation and Resilience Dialogues that we are organizing as a knowledge and learning exchange platform. I want to start off by saying that, as we all know, the global responsibility to tackle climate change is vital, is paramount. We see communities everywhere, especially the most vulnerable, experiencing profound disruptions to their lives, to livelihoods, and to their environments, to society at whole, at large, in fact. And just as the urgency to act has never been greater, we are also seeing that local action, locally led adaptation, is one of the most effective and powerful ways to ensure that those who are most affected are also part of the solutions and are shaping and driving these. UNDP has had a long-standing commitment to supporting local action and locally led adaptation. We're working to strengthen capacities, working with partners, working with donors, and to strengthen capacities and forge systemic connections and help bridge the finance gap. And this is all underpinned by the 8 key principles of locally led adaptation, which UNDP has also endorsed. I want to share 2 examples of these efforts that are focused on local action and locally led adaptation, and then share some more thoughts on our experiences with the UNDP AFCIA program as well. So one of our programs, UNDP GEF Small Grants Program, has been in operation for over 30 years and has supported civil society and local action on environmental sustainability, on sustainable development, and on adaptation through a remarkable almost 30,000 projects across 136 countries, with a total investment of over $838 million US. We see the long-term impact of the small grants programs across the regions, across the countries. And in fact, we also see the relevance to local adaptation and the strengthening of the foundation for local governance that is required as part of this. The second example that I want to share is the Adaptation Innovation Marketplace, which is a strategic multi-partner platform that's led by UNDP, designed to advance the scale-up of adaptation efforts at the local level. This focuses on civil societies, on governments, non-governmental organizations, indigenous communities, entrepreneurs, and the youth, as well as women-led enterprises. The marketplace aggregates resources and technical support to facilitate local access to climate change adaptation, local access to finance for climate change adaptation. And our work, the UNDP AFCIA program, and our work on the program is really born out of this conviction. The core premise for program is really simple but very transformative. It is that empowering local actors, elevating community knowledge, and supporting innovative homegrown solutions to create sustainable and climate resilient futures is a powerful and indeed transformative approach that requires consistent investment, consistent support, and we're really thrilled to be able to share the lessons from the last 5 years of the AFCIA program with you today. We're proud to be one of the early implementing partners of this initiative. It's a $16 million program funded by the Adaptation Fund and the European Union. Through the UNDP AFCIA program, we've been able to support over 44 organizations across 33 countries with direct grants ranging from $60,000 to $250,000, and also technical capacity and capacity building packages that are worth an additional $6 million. Collectively, these initiatives have reached over 2.6 million people and helped communities to test, refine, and scale innovative solutions for climate adaptation. The impact of these efforts and of these innovations is tangible. Communities have become owners of their livelihoods, with over 59% of the UNDP AFCIA supported organizations reaching revenue generation stage within 5 years, and all directly applying the principles and adhering to the principles of locally led adaptation, achieving gender equity, with women making up over 54% of all beneficiaries. So my colleague Monica, who is the Global Program Manager for UNDP's AFCIA program, will discuss the details of the impact report and the lessons learned in this 5-year journey. But I wanted to end by saying that the impact report is a testament to the ingenuity, the perseverance, and the leadership of local actors. It also reflects the collective strength of the partnerships that have made this possible, most notably the invaluable support of the Adaptation Fund, the European Union, and key partners of the Adaptation Innovation Marketplace and the AFCIA family. And in conclusion, I want to leave with a reminder that innovation is not limited to laboratories or boardrooms. It flourishes in towns, in forests, in farms, and in villages when communities lead the way and are resourced to not only survive, but really to overcome the challenges of climate change and to thrive. With that, thank you very much, and I hand it back to you, Alyssa.
Thank you, Radhika, for those inspiring remarks. We will now hear from Ariessa Ningram, who is the United Nations Climate Technology Center and Networks Director. Ariessa, over to you.
Thank you very much, Alyssa. Good morning, good afternoon, and good morning also to colleagues who are actually in the Latin America and our North America region. So distinguished partners and colleagues from around the world, thank you again for providing opportunity. We already also were there this morning in the morning session to share awards, adding to the remarks already delivered by my distinguished colleagues at the launch of AFCIA Impact Report. So today we're not only looking back at the result, but we will also learn about what works, what doesn't, and how we can move faster and more efficiently and more effectively in delivering climate solutions where they are most needed. As we all know, the current NDC commitment still place us on a trajectory of temperature overshoot. This means that innovations and climate technology is also part of these actions must now come into full force. But innovation alone is not enough. Solutions must deliver for communities and be rapidly deployed in the real world context. This is where the CTCN mandate and AFCIA approach are truly aligned. The CTCN is at the right time, at the right place to plant the seed of innovative and transformational changes through climate technologies that support both decarbonization and community resilience. We, with our almost 1,000 networks, members, we bring extensive climate expertise, a proven technical assistance business model, and a growing portfolio of innovative technologies. Just as importantly, we have the agility to meet developing countries where they are, and we work hand in hand with national entities and in close collaborations with the world-leading organizations. AFCIA is a strong expression of this approach. Through small-scale targeted technical assistance that piloting innovative technology solutions, AFCIA shows that limited and very rare resources can be used efficiently and strategically to produce impacts. So this technical assistance that the CTCN have been doing and supported through by AFCIA funding allow us to test climate technologies in real conditions, to understand what works, what doesn't, and why before scaling up. Therefore, we have learned that the stronger the ownership by countries is, the more successful a pilot is likely to be. When countries are deeply engaged and lead the process, the technological solutions are not only more relevant and effective, they are also far more likely to attract funding for scale-up and replication. This is why AFCIA places such strong emphasis on demand-driven assistance, local ownership, and national leadership. It also highlights the importance of indigenous knowledge and creativity, which are very important if we are to keep pace with the speed and complexity of the climate change. So the report that will be launched today, it demonstrates that technical assistance that we support through AFCIA program, when it's user-driven, flexible, and innovation-focused, can really deliver real and lasting impact, turning ideas into action and action into scalable solution. I would like to thank Adaptation Fund, European Union, UNDP, and all our partners, contributors, and country stakeholders for making this work possible. And we look forward to continuing this journey together in AFCIA 2, learning, innovating, and delivering climate technologies that truly serve communities and the planet. I thank you, and I wish you a very engaging launch event. Over to you, Alisa.
Thank you, Ari Esther, for these inspiring remarks. We heard from Radhika that innovation can take place in any setting, and we heard from Ari Esther the importance of targeted technical assistance, which this AFCIA program was very good at providing, to ensure that ideas turn to action and action to innovative solutions. Now we will move on to our next segment. So thank you to all our speakers for their opening remarks and setting the stage really well. In this next segment, we will hear more about the impact reports themselves. The impact reports will also be posted in the chat, so you will find links to details if you're more curious. But I would now like to invite Monica Borrero, who is the program manager for the UNDP AFCIA program, to share insights and highlight the impact reports results, lessons, and what this means going forward. Monica, over to you.
Thank you so much, Alisa. So indeed, I'm gonna try to condense in the next 9 minutes what was the UNDP AFCIA project and the main findings, impact, and lessons learned of this 5-year journey, and also the main content that you will be able to find in the impact report. Next, please. So as mentioned before by Radhika, the UNDP AFCIA program was implemented in 33 countries, supported 44 initiatives, mainly NGOs and CSOs, and other sorts of community-based organizations that were operating in the Global South, and testing, refining, or implementing tools, technologies, and business models that create resilience at the local level. Next, please. In total, out of the $16 million, $8.3 million were channeled through small grants, mainly in the African region, followed by the Asia and the Pacific region, and to a lesser degree in the Latin America and the Caribbean region, Europe and Central Asia, and Arab states. These grants were paired by a total package of $6 million that came in the form of direct mentorship, investment brokering, knowledge brokering, peer-to-peer learning, and so forth. Next, please. Here you can see the same total amount of grants, but distributed in topics as per the Adaptation Fund's Innovation for Adaptation sector. So you can see that the majority of the grants were proposing and dealing with solutions that address food security. To second degree were solutions that were proposing nature-based solutions. And then we had a mix of different solutions that were ranging from disaster risk reduction, early warning systems, frugal innovation, rescuing indigenous knowledge paired with modern technologies, innovative adaptation financing, and urban adaptation. Next, please. So in total, the UNDP AFCIA program benefited 2.6 million direct and indirect beneficiaries, more than half of them women. And here I would like to highlight a few of the aggregated impact indicators that are worth mentioning. More than 29,000 hectares of land that was restored or protected were collectively achieved with through the initiatives of the grantees. More than 21,000 households improved livelihoods. More than 47 individuals reported to have improved productivity or professional skills. And collectively, the UNDP AFCIA grantees unlocked $4.1 million, but this data keeps changing because as we advance in the years, we receive very happily emails from our partners that manage to secure additional resources from the public sources, private sources, foundations. So they basically enlarge their scope of unlocking additional finance. Next, please. As mentioned as well by Radhika, at the beginning of the UNDP AFCIA program, 20% of our partners were generating some type of revenue, but after the project and with all this technical assistance package and support and visibility that was provided by the program, 59% started generating revenue, ranging between $10,000 to $100,000 annually. It is also worth highlighting that 14% of the partners developed a new service or a new product in a new market where it didn't exist, and 9% proved new concepts and tested early innovation pilots with these grants. Next, please. So the UNDP AFCIA report is categorized in topics. We invite you to read it and learn from the two volumes, the one developed by UNDP and UNEP-CTCN. You will find four main categories of information, all the impact generated by the grantees in terms of innovation for adaptation, climate resilience and environmental resilience, socioeconomic resilience, and scalability and investability, along with lots of examples from these innovators and lessons learned for best practices. Next, please. So we have lessons learned categorized in different topics: lessons for adaptation and resilience, lessons for innovation for adaptation, lessons on locally led adaptation, on gender equality and mainstreaming, on replicability and scalability, and on knowledge generation and exchange. Given the limited time that we have today, I have selected 5 to 6 main lessons learned that we believe are quite unique or more prominent of the UNDP AFCIA program. Next. So the first one is about local ownership and flexibility. And even though this seems quite obvious, the local partners basically indicated as part of the main results that receiving this direct funding through grants basically enable the local organizations and stakeholders to design and implement context-specific climate solutions that were culturally appropriate, but also effective and efficient. Next, please. The second lesson learned is about capacity building and is recognizing that failure is an integral part of the innovation process. Basically, it involves an iterative process that includes setbacks and so-called failures, but these failures are really challenges that provide valuable learning opportunities to refine these practices, tools, and business models and make these solutions more effective and more efficient and more sustainable in the long run. Next, please. These two lessons are about financial sustainability and basically... Sorry, I think there's someone needs to be muted. This one is about recognizing that diversified revenue streams and unlocking private investment are key to financial sustainability of these adaptation initiatives. Many of the partners that started working with us were very used to unlock finance from public sources or from traditional grants. But here we worked throughout these years to really start strengthening the capacities, the organizational capacities on measuring the impact, communicating the impact, to also start unlocking resources from the private sector and other sources of financing. The next lesson learned is about, previous slide, please. Also, strategies that strengthen market linkages, secured certifications for the products, and developed buyer relationships that were strong were central to the success of many of these projects. Next, please. And lessons learned in terms of scalability. The first one is about recognizing how the flexibility of these grants actually allowed these innovators at the local level to respond better to the challenges, because evolving local needs and environmental challenges really require grants that are also flexible. So this was highly recognized by this program and enabled these grantees to continue doing what they do the best at the local level. And phase funding models are essential for scaling and sustaining innovation. In our case, we gave a first round of funding for all the 44 initiatives and a second round of funding focusing on scaling and replication, which allowed the partners to refine their business models, their plans, their objectives, and have a stronger pathway to secure the sustainability of these initiatives. To finalize, next, please. We invite you to visit our website, where we have developed a lot of knowledge management and communication products, like an interactive dashboard, a solutions catalog that will show you the fact sheet for each of these initiatives, a video for each of these initiatives, blogs, and a lot of other information, together with this impact report that we hope will inspire you and that you can learn and replicate these ideas in your relevant context. Thank you so much, Alisa. Over to you.
Thank you, Monica. Those impact numbers are a testament of the success of the program. And we see that innovation at various stages was supported, from the pilot to the replication stage, and especially the important element of failure and how it's an important element of the innovation process itself. We will now move on to UNEP-CTCN's experience by sharing their impact report. So I would like to call upon Eva Komba, who is UNEP's Climate Change Adaptation Unit's Program Officer, to share of UNEP-CTCN's impact report. Eva, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Alisa. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. And thank you very much to Monica for presenting the insight of the UNDP AFCIA Impact Report. I'm now happy to present the UNEP-CTCN AFCIA report, AFCIA Impact Report. I will be summarizing in this presentation the key findings, some of the impacts and lessons learned of the 5-year journey that we took with the AFCIA program. We started the AFCIA program in 2020, and the program ended, the first phase ended in end of 2025. The program covered 25 projects and supported 23 countries. Next slide, please. So that's the geographical presence and the different projects we supported. We have a particular focus on LDCs and seeds, which represented 52% of our projects, with Africa and Asia Pacific being the first two regions supported, and followed by Latin America and Europe. Next slide. In terms of budget, the overall program budget was 6.8 million, 5 million coming from the Adaptation Fund, and 1.8 million co-financed by CTCN. Out of those 6.8 million, we channeled $5.3 million directly through technical assistance to the 25 projects. And then had 1.5 million used for knowledge production, monitoring and evaluation, and sharing the strong evidence base that we built with the program. Next slide, please. In terms of sectors, we have divided the 25 projects we supported in 3 main areas. The first one is food security. That was a very big focus of the program, followed closely by early warning systems and then water management. In terms of early warning system, we supported early warning system for floods, forest fire, drought. We also supported agrometeorological platforms and multi-hazard platforms. On water management, the projects were about aquifer mapping and roadmap, flood mitigation barriers, rainwater harvesting, and water drainage systems. And on food securities, we had several projects focused on solar-powered irrigation systems, SPIS. We also looked at climate-smart farming and free trade zones, at blockchain for crop insurance, pastoral management, and biodiversity hotspots. Next slide, please. In terms of beneficiaries, we worked directly with over 200,000 people, and we actually benefited more than 2.2 million people, among which 42% were women and 20% of youth. Next slide. So this is a broad picture of the aggregated impact coming out of the program. I'm just going to highlight a few. The program supported 15 new adaptation solutions on the ground and 10 enabling environments for adaptation technologies. So that was through strengthened policy and regulatory framework mainly. The CTCN, the UNEP-CTCN program, really, the value addition is that it really worked with government directly. So we supported the capacity building of more than 11,000 government officials and worked with more than 900 municipalities. We did that through the development of 56 local technical tools, guidelines, and training modules. And we also supported more than 3 million hectares of natural assets and ecosystems through rehabilitation and protection. Next slide, please. In terms of scaling opportunities, the program managed to unlock already to date more than $70 million for scaling up successful adaptation initiatives. Out of the 25 initiatives to date, we have 10 that have secured additional support and finance through the governments, private sectors, and new grants. You can see the name of the project here. If you want more information, you can have a look at our website. We have some specific stories for most of our projects. But we have to keep in mind that the program has closed quite recently, and that a lot of the projects are still securing additional funding. So that overall amount will increase in the coming months. Next slide, please. In terms of lessons learned, we have also aggregated our lessons learned in the impact report under 6 general themes: lessons on innovation, on locally led adaptation, on adaptation and monitoring, replicability, integrated mitigation, adaptation intervention, and knowledge generation and exchange. And in the sake of time, I'm going just to present a few of them, but you can have a look at the impact report for more information on those. On adaptation and monitoring, what the program implementation and findings really showed us is the importance of monitoring impacts and impact of adaptation technologies on the ground. That requires that's resource intensive work, but that is necessary if we want to scale up the innovation and understand what worked and what did not and why. Next slide, please. In terms of replicability, the program showed us the importance of government ownership and coordination for scaling up, for testing and scaling up technologies. That is a requirement and a condition of success. Next slide. We also saw in our program that many adaptation innovation actually had strong co-benefits, and we wanted to showcase the strong mitigation co-benefits in particular that some of the project and solutions had. And that's especially the case of ecosystems restoration and renewable energy technologies such as solar-powered irrigation. Next slide. On knowledge generation and exchange, we wanted to highlight as a key findings the importance of developing the skills at the local level, so users could use the technology introduced well beyond the project end. Next slide, please. And in terms of resources, we invite you to have a look at the UNEP-CTCN AFCIA website, where we have developed many knowledge management and communication products, and they are available. We have a dashboard that we developed, some different success stories, 25 project fact sheets showcasing the different projects and their impacts, some video and photo reportage as well. So they are all available on the website, and the link will be shared in the chat. And I think I will stop here. I encourage you to really have a look at both impact reports. They are very insightful and interesting resources. I am now looking forward to hearing the stories from the ground. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eva, especially for sharing the targeted technical support and tools provided also by UNEP-CTCN for this program, and especially highlighting the importance of monitoring the lessons of the projects also for future scale-up efforts and possibilities. We will now move on to the next segment, where you will actually hear stories from the ground, and we hope that this will be exciting. So we're shifting gears at the moment to introduce you to the first round of grantees. We will start with UNDP's AFCIA grantees. So I would like to first introduce Tracy Ann Harridge, who is the founder of and CEO of iSeeds Youth in Jamaica. Without giving anything away, Tracy, over to you.
Sure, thank you, and greetings from Jamaica. Next slide, please. iSeeds Youth, it's a community-based organization in Jamaica working at the intersection of climate resilience, food security, gender equity, and youth empowerment, also community development. And our project is rooted in volatile communities where climate shocks intersect with gender-based violence, youth violence, and deep economic exclusion. Now, women and young people in these spaces are often the most affected, facing food insecurity, trauma, instability, and limited access to safe and dignified livelihoods. In these environments, scarcity fuels stress, stress fuels conflict, and conflict often leads to violence, particularly against women and youth. Now, through this project, we intentionally used climate action as an entry point to address these challenges together, not in isolation. So creating pathways to safety, stability, and long-term resilience. Next slide, please. Our solution is built on 3 core pillars. First, we have climate smart food security. So we established climate smart agriculture hubs, those are greenhouses, that increase food availability in volatile communities. We reduce household stress and strengthen resilience to climate shocks. With support from AFCIA, we were initially resourced to construct 4 greenhouses. Now, through careful planning, efficient use of resources, and strong community participation, we were able to construct 7 fully functional greenhouses, significantly expanding food production, training opportunities, and community reach beyond the original scope. Second, safe spaces for healing and change. Now, these greenhouses function as trauma-informed environments where women and youth, including those exiting gender-based violence and high-risk settings, can rebuild confidence, trust, and a sense of belonging. Thirdly, livelihoods that build peace, which is very important. Through structured daily routines, skills training, and paid agricultural work, participants or beneficiaries gain discipline, responsibility, and income, replacing idle time and high-risk behaviors with purpose and stability. And what makes this model innovative is that climate-smart agriculture is not treated only as a production system, but as a behavioral change, violence prevention, and resilience building strategy. Now, the approach is community-owned, cost-effective, and designed for long-term sustainability, ensuring that benefits continue well beyond the life of the grant. Next slide, please. The impact of this approach extends far beyond agriculture. Among participating households and communities, we observed measurable reductions in community violence and gender-based violence, alongside significant disengagement of at-risk youth from crime and antisocial behavior. Now, women involved experienced increased economic independence and decision-making power, critical protective factors against gender-based violence. The expanded greenhouse infrastructure strengthened food security, created additional livelihoods, and improved household stability, making communities more resilient to future climate and economic shocks. Importantly, this increase and consistent production capacity allowed us to move beyond raw produce into value-added agricultural products, which were currently being finalized to market entry and export. And these include bell pepper powders, Scotch bonnet powder, dried herbs, and sauces. And I'm very proud to say that iSeeds Youth is recognized as the innovators of bell pepper powder in Jamaica. And these value chains are creating higher incomes, long-term sustainability, and expanded market access, all made possible through AFCIA's support. This work has gained international visibility with global recognition of the project as a scalable model that links climate adaptation with peace building, food security, inclusive value chains, and social transformation. And from this experience, 3 key lessons stood out. First, Food security is violence prevention. When households are stable, conflict decreases. Second, structure changes behavior. Consistent routines and productive work drive lasting transformation. And third, community ownership sustains peace and resilience. Impact lasts when communities lead. And our key takeaway is simple. Climate action is more powerful when it restores dignity, builds resilience, and places leadership in the hands of communities. AFCIA didn't just fund infrastructure, they invested in people, peace, and possibility. Because of AFCIA, climate innovation in our communities is not theoretical, it is lived, owned, and growing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tracy Ann, for sharing your experience and the success of your program. We will now take you from Jamaica all the way to Kenya. I would now like to invite Vincent Mariado, the National Coordinator at World Neighbors in Kenya. Vincent, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and hello, distinguished colleagues and partners. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We are a community of practice that promotes local innovation of smallholder farmers as a means to supporting sustainable agriculture and rural livelihoods, climate adaptation, and healthy food for all. In this journey, through the support of AFCIA UNDP, we are working on a project that promotes dairy goat farming as an alternative source of livelihoods among the rural communities, which actually feels the highest brunt of climate vulnerabilities. We are making this possible through the locally formulated dairy goat meal, which is a regenerative feed for climate resilient dairy goat farming in Kenya. This is actually a community-driven answer to food insecurity, malnutrition, which is actually reported according to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. It is reported that the country faces about 29% rural children malnutrition. And also, using this, leveraging on this locally formulated dairy goat meal to fight climate vulnerability among the rural communities, especially smallholder households. With the locally formulated dairy goat meal, the feed shortage, which has become an issue and is reported to about 60% annual deficit, which translates to about 33 million tons of dry matter of goats in Kenya, gives the smallholder farmers the greatest headache in terms of dairy goat farming. To make matters worse, despite the fact that there are over 34 million goats in Kenya, which is estimated to have about 300 to 400,000 dairy goats, there are no specific feeds for dairy goats. And also, the available feeds are not nutritionally strong enough to support dairy goat farming. And also, not most smallholder farmers are able to afford this. And this is why the innovative solution of developing a locally formulated dairy goat meal using the locally available materials and owned by the community is becoming a game changer. And with our scaling strategies and plans, we are very optimistic that we will not only be able to sort out the feed shortages in Kenya, but also go beyond the market, the Kenya's market. With our immediate target for scaling is the East African market. The journey with the AFCIA through the UNDP has been very impactful. Allow me to mention just but a few. Next slide. First, we've been able to establish and operationalize a social enterprise around the locally formulated dairy goat meal. And through this particular enterprise that is owned by the community, run by the community, and managed by the community, a revenue of about 22,970 has been generated. This is according to the reports that is updated as at 2025. And with the projection, should the same trend continues, we are estimating a projection of about $300,000 in terms of revenue by 2030. And this one, we are very hopeful that it will be possible because as part of the immediate impact that we've realized so far, the availability of feed has significantly strengthened dairy goat value chain, creating direct employment to about 138 women and youth, providing labor as both skilled and unskilled. This has not only mobilized more communities into dairy goat farming, but has also ensured that youth employment and women engagement in matters adaptation and resilience is at top notch. For instance, we've been able to rope in 2,113 households into dairy goat farming. This is a community that heavily relied on maize production. And with the climate change, maize, whatever yield they are getting from maize production is no longer possible to sustain them throughout the year. And through the capacity building and availability of feeds, the 2,113 the households that have already been roped into dairy goat farming have so far recorded an 80% increase in milk production. And this has also opened up a large space for value addition and strengthening the entire dairy goat value chain. And we are seeing so many products coming up. We are seeing local yogurts being made by the local communities. We are seeing the local fermented milk that is locally referred to as mala also being made by these early adopters, as well as other products like cheese and the ghee, purely from dairy goat farming. Environmentally, the locally formulated dairy goat meal has reduced pressure on local vegetation. One, it discourages the cut and carry feeding model, which really enhances and puts more pressure on the local vegetation. Secondly, it has made the community to realize that even the local vegetation, the local fodder materials can be cash crops, and therefore they are engaged in conserving and even regenerating more and more of these locally available fodder materials. Also, because this solution is premised on the local innovation, the community ingenuity, we've been able to identify 15 more local innovations that are promoting and adding positive synergy to the impact that is already created by the locally formulated dairy goat meal, which is also a product of local creativity. Next. In terms of lessons learned, we have learned quite a number of lessons, but for this particular sitting, allow me to mention just about three key lessons. The first lesson that we've learned is that communities are not just but recipients of knowledge, but they are co-creators of knowledge. This is because whenever they are facing climate change shocks, they normally strive to come up with site-appropriate solutions, which responds directly to their own constraints and challenges. And unfortunately, most of these efforts are never recognized. It is therefore very important that this particular approach, where farmers are at the center of providing solutions to their own challenges, as entrenched in the locally led adaptation approach, is therefore mainstreamed within the donor spaces, within the development actors, and the extension spaces. With this, we are sure of sustainability and wider application of the concept that has been proven widely that has to be the most effective tool in climate change adaptation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vincent. It's inspiring to hear both from you and Tracy Ann, especially the important takeaway that it's important to invest in human dignity and as well as local creativity in this fight against climate change. And especially, Vincent, your point about local communities are not just recipients of knowledge, but they are co-creators of knowledge. Now we will move on to our next segment, where we will hear from Professor Abrar Chowdhury from the State Business School, Oxford University. This program had an interesting partnership with the MBA program, and we will hear more about the UNDP AFCIA MBA Fellowship Program from Professor Abrar. Abrar, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. It's a great honor to be here, and it's been a wonderful experience partnering with the UNDP AFCIA program. Let me start by briefly outlining what this program is. So the UNDP AFCIA Fellowship Program is a structured academic practice partnership that embeds global business schools, including the Oxford MBA and MSc students, directly into the AFCIA supported climate adaptation projects. As Vincent was saying, this is where we've tried to build a very practical approach, which was to strengthen locally led adaptation initiatives through hands-on technical support, and then at the same time generate field-based evidence on resilience, livelihoods, and adaptation finance. So I've been involved in this program since 2023. And within this collaboration, we've connected academic capabilities of 69 fellows with real implementation needs across the AFCIA portfolio. So from Oxford's perspective, the clearest impact is really the value created for the grantees. And across the program, as you can see in the slide, the fellows have delivered over 150 project-specific outputs that directly support the organizations. And these include things like building business and sustainability strategies, building funding and investment roadmaps for these projects, even like focusing on the impact measurement frameworks. And I think there were some really innovative projects that were supported that build mechanisms for carbon and biodiversity credits as well. So really a spectrum of support. But crucially, this support targets areas where locally led organizations most often face constraints. And those are within financial strategy, it's within planning, it's about articulating impact, and also scaling, rather than looking at just technical innovation itself. So, what wraps those innovation and how we can help with that. And again, the intent was not just offering short-term advice, so that the fellows come in for a short period of time, but really it was about building durable capacity. How can you create tools, frameworks, models that the grantees can use well beyond the internship and the fellowship period as well. And this is really important when you want to build locally led adaptation, where strong local solutions often struggle to access the right support to grow. So within Oxford, we really, our focus was how do we translate our academic training into practical value? And the program deliberately combined two complementary streams. And one, of course, was the MBA side of it, which really focused on the implementation side. So how do we help these grantees think about livelihoods, resilience, funding strategies, even adaptation financing mechanisms? But along with that, we built another stream, which was more, had a longer duration, with many of our master's students that focused on research. And we produced nearly 1,000 pages of academic analysis, grounded in project realities and field engagement. So when we put these two things together, the approach for this fellowship was that, how do we improve sustainability and readiness for scale? But also, what do we learn from this program? What is the evidence that comes in? What really works? Why and where? And so that really helps us build the next iteration of programs and those next knowledge. And then finally, I think from a student's perspective, I think this creates a phenomenal learning opportunity for them, because they were actually working with real life challenges. They were looking at all those trade-offs. And I'm hoping like both ways that it's helping create future leaders that understand ground realities. And at the same time, it's helping projects to scale. So finally, just to close, I think from our perspective, what this program demonstrates is a replicable, impact-oriented model. It shows how universities can contribute skills and evidence without crowding out local leadership and local knowledge, and see how adaptation impact can be extended by building capacity and capability rather than dependency. And to conclude, this program works because it is intentionally designed around practical impact for grantees and creating learning for future climate action. Well, at Oxford, we're very proud and indebted to be part of this collaboration, and we see strong potential for continued learning and support, and we would be thrilled to be part of any future iteration. In fact, I encourage, many of these models to adopt this model, because I think there was a lot of learning that's come out of it. So let's on that. Thank you so much. I hope it gives an overview of what we have been doing, and hope to continue with that as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Abrar, and especially for highlighting the importance of the two-way stream of knowledge exchange from the technical experts or from the students or the grantees, and as well as from the local communities back into to the students, and creating hopefully the next generation of climate experts. We will now move on to our next segment, where we will hear from the stories of the UNEP-CTCN grantees. I would like to start with Aldo Zamaroni, who is the project coordinator at Practica, Mozambique. Aldo, we'd like to hear your insights.
Thank you very much for the invitation and for the opportunity to share our experiences from Mozambique. In the Zambezi River Basin, what we often see is smallholder farmers facing a combination of pressures that make agriculture increasingly fragile, with challenges ranging from water allocation, soil degradation, to having very limited access to high-tech farming technologies. We often also see that these challenges translate into lower yields, higher vulnerability, and fewer livelihood options for rural families. So our project set out with a very practical question. How can we design a water, food, energy system that is realistic for smallholder farmers, affordable to maintain, and resilient to climate change? So to answer that, we developed an integrated and modular water, food, energy system where the idea was simple. Instead of promoting one single technology, we created a flexible package where farmers can select the components that match their technical and financial capacities. The system included 4 technologies: solar irrigation, aquaponics, biodigestion, and composting. What made this approach innovative is the modularity, where farmers don't need to adopt everything at once. For example, they can start with solar irrigation and then later add composting or biodigestion as the resources allow. This makes the system not only scalable within a single farm, but also across different regions within the country, which we know they will have different agroecological and economic conditions. What we saw on the ground as a result of this project was a shift in confidence, where farmers also realized that climate resilient technologies are not only for large commercial farms, but they can also be adapted, simplified, and owned by them. And also, we, as an internal lesson learned, is that innovation in adaptation doesn't always mean high tech. It also means designing systems that are context appropriate, modular, but also financially realistic, so that farmers can adopt them at their own pace. So thank you so much, and I'm looking forward for the discussion.
Thank you, Aldo. Now, in the interest of time, I would like to invite Elric Francis as the Director of Climate Action Unit at the Ministry of Environment and the National Designated Entity at St. Kitts and Nevis. Elric, the floor is yours.
Good day, everyone. Good day. It's a pleasure to join this dialogue. Today, I will share the experience of St. Kitts and Nevis in deploying the drought forecasting and water risk modeling as a practical technological response to climate change. St. Kitts and Nevis, we are a small island developing state where rainfall is our sole source of potable water. And in recent years, climate change has altered rainfall patterns. And so what was a predictable wet season is no longer reliable, leading to longer dry spells. By 2024, approximately 8% of the residents of St. Kitts and Nevis was experiencing some form of water outages, and the farmers were struggling to decide what to plant and when, often losing crops due to unexpected drought. And so importantly, drought is a relatively new hazard for St. Kitts and Nevis, first emerging around 2015. And so this meant that existing planning systems were not designed to anticipate and manage the risk effectively. So what was implemented? So to address this challenge, CTCN working along with HR Wallingford and the Department of Environment and the Ministry of Meteorology. We supported the development of a data-driven drought forecasting and groundwater assessment system. This project introduced several key components: remote monitoring stations, satellite data, drought risk modeling, GI-based drought risk maps, and simple but effective communication system where drought forecasts are shared with farmers through mobile messaging platforms. And so rather than creating a complex and inaccessible system, the program focused on translating scientific data into usable, actionable information for farmers, water managers, and government agencies. What were the results? So due to the applied climate technology, we were able to strengthen drought prediction capacity at a national level, allowing agencies to identify areas most vulnerable to water shortages and act earlier to manage risk. Secondly, farmers now receive advanced guidance on planting decisions, helping them to reduce crop loss, manage water efficiently, and plan around unexpected dry periods. In terms of scale, this initiative directly supported over 50 local beneficiaries and improved the water management practices of tens of thousands of residents nationwide. What were the key lessons learned? Firstly, technology alone is not enough. The success of this project depended on human intermediaries, extension officers, technicians, local institutions who helped translate the forecasting data into real-world action. Secondly, simplicity is very paramount here, where we were able to deliver relevant information through familiar platforms that the farmers already have, ensuring quick uptake. Third, the ground-based data remains essential. So while satellite data is powerful, we needed local monitoring stations for accuracy, credibility, and long-term sustainability. And finally, we have the drought forecasting is not just an agricultural tool, it's also a water governance tool to help the government know how to plan the water supply management, land use planning, and climate adaptation policy. And so looking ahead, how we are going to scale this, we transitioned from this operational drought forecasting system into a GIS-based water supply monitoring system. And then furthermore, we are also trying to create a project for early warning climate risk. So it's not just drought, but we also want to expand for climate related like storms, hurricanes, etc. And in closing, the experience in St. Kitts Nevis shows that local-led adaptation can deliver real and lasting impact. Thank you.
Thank you, Elric. And now finally, to close off these grantee stories, we will see a short video from UNCTCN's grantee in Nepal. So I hope you enjoy this video.
आकाशबाट 3-4 दिनसम्म लगातार पानी परेको गरेर यो ठुलो पहिरो गयो मान्छेको घर भित्र जम्मै पानी पसेर यो खराब भयो घर खराब भयो.
In Nepal, farming families live at the mercy of an unpredictable sky. 80% of the population lives in hazard-prone areas, facing floods, landslides, droughts, and storms.
अटोमेटिक बाढी आयो हाम्रो खेतबारीमा यस्तै धानमा बाढी पस्यो सबै पुर्यो घरभित्र हिलो पस्यो.
There are lots of bad effects of climate change. There are many landslides.
Nepal has some of the world's most extreme landscapes. From subtropical plains to icy peaks, the weather shifts as fast as the land changes. Over 80% of disasters here are driven by extreme rainfall and temperature swings, and climate-driven flood risk is set to nearly double by 2030.
अब भर्खर आज रोपेर आयो आजै बाढीले बगाएछ खेत बगाएपछि त अब बालीको त कुरै छोड
the global average, the erratic weather is outpacing farmers' ability. Weather alerts is bringing insight across rural communities to give farmers time to prepare.
Nepal is full of microclimatic regions. You cannot send a single advisory from there and there, na? So that's why the motivation is that why don't we create a platform for the farmers where they get the advisory at a village level. They can customize the advisory according to them.
These 3-day forecasts are tailored to each farmer's field location and delivered straight to their phones, unprecedented in reliability and accuracy.
This application is using the machine learning and artificial intelligence. We predict the weather using the last 30 years Nepal weather data for that particular date.
Knowledge reaches the most remote fields, empowering smallholders to not just react but to plan.
त्यो 3 दिन अगाडि नै मौसम थाहा भएपछि हामीले कहिले धान काट्ने, कहिले चाहिँ रोप्ने, कहिले क्यार्ने, कहिले बिउ राख्ने सबै कुरो हामीलाई सजिलो भएछ। मोबाइलमा एप आएपछि हामीलाई चाहिँ धेरै सजिलो भएको छ।
सबैलाई सन्देश अब जम्मै कसैको पनि खेतीबाली खराब हुन पाएन, बारीले बिगार्न पाउँदैन, डुबाउन पाउँदैन। धेरै फाइदा हुन्छ, फाइदाजनक हुन्छ।
Nepalese farmer can improve their crop productivity, conserve their natural resources, and have a good food and nutrition security to the coming generation.
हामीलाई यो परिवारहरुले याप हेर्नुभयो अनि त्यही अनुसार हामीले खेती गरेर अहिले राम्रो भएको छ।
Adding a phone number to the digital platform is all it takes to receive vital information. Knowledge then travels effortlessly and is shared within communities.
हामीले चाहिँ हाम्रै मात्रै नभएर अरूलाई छिमेकीहरुलाई पनि हामीले चाहिँ यो सिकाउन सक्छौं।
It will be sustainable to the rural communities where agriculture is the backbone of the economy. It's making them more resilient to the climate change.
Every fraction of a degree matters.
I hope you enjoyed these stories from the ground.
And welcome to today's.
I hope you've enjoyed these very stories from the ground. You can see in these last set of stories, as well as using local creativity in providing data, collecting data as well, and the timely provision of data. And sometimes innovation is not about making things complicated, but simplifying things. So the right people have the information in a timely manner. To end this, these stories, we would now like to have a short Q&A. We have about 6 minutes, I believe, for Q&A. There have been some interesting questions in the chat that I see have been actively answered, but perhaps we can take a few questions here. I would like to invite Monica and Eva to respectively turn on their cameras and to join us for this Q&A session. And perhaps, Monica, you could address the first question from Neil, where he asks about financial sustainability. And have you observed any particular innovation projects that have proven to be effective in securing private finance? Eva, you're also welcome to answer if you would like to do so. But Monica, over to you first.
Thank you so much for the question. Yes, I think that in general, with the 44 initiatives, there were different strategies that the partners utilized, but I might want to perhaps mention a couple of them. One was the floating farms in India. It was an innovative solution implemented to integrate food security in flood-prone areas. Very recently, this initiative has been strengthening the partnership not only with the public sector, but managed to unlock additional resources from an Indian bank. So different initiatives have been trying to access different approaches, like blended finance approaches. We have another example that we covered in the morning in the Asia Pacific webinar that is called Avalobi in South Africa, They are more like a mixed social enterprise, and they are also playing around with blended finance approaches. So I have to recognize that the majority of the partners are still trying to unlock private finance, different sources of finance. Maybe the private finance is still a longer path, but we have very, very good examples that we invite you to read, for example, in our impact report, and how which were the main success factors that allow these grantees to unlock this private finance or access loans or concessional loans, for example.
Thank you, Monica. And I see Nadej. Nadej is the Global Program Manager for the UNEP-CTCN program. Nadej, would you like to respond to this question as well? There is also another related question that is asking about how can adaptation programs attract private investment? And did this program evaluate, if at all, each financial solutions to attract investment to implement innovative solutions? Nadej and Monica, feel free to jump in whenever.
Thank you very much, Alisa. Thank you very much, Monica. And thank you to the participants for asking these very relevant questions. In the case of UNEP-CTCN AFCIA program, we worked a lot at governmental level. So it's true that attracting private finance is and remains a very big challenge and something we want to focus more and better. We have been able to unlock and to leverage funding, as you could have seen in the presentation, $17 million, sorry, leverage for these projects. 40% of the project that have managed to leverage money, but not always from private sector. And one of the lessons that we try, that we have learned, we try to implement with the AFCIA too, is maybe to engage with the private sector from the very first stage of the project, from the design stage of the project, so they have the chance to find their space in the implementation, to understand what is their added value, what is the benefits they would get out of the project, and be ready for to invest further in the project. We are also working quite a lot with partnerships, trying to engage with the financial institutions, donors that are working in the host countries of each project, trying to understand what are the risks that are perceived, how we can lower this risk from the very beginning of the implementation, what are the criteria that we use to select whether this project instead of this one will receive additional funding. So we try to connect better with the private financial institutions, but it's not easy for sure. Monica, would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, thank you, Nadej, for these insights. Maybe in the case of our AFCIA program, and I'm seeing that Harris is responding very detailedly in lots of detail, some of these questions related to, what are the successful steps that we saw in some of these organizations. I would just try to summarize that in our case, since we were working with grassroots organizations and CSOs, many of them, or one of the unique features of this program was that it was to start thinking with an entrepreneurial mindset. So these organizations were perhaps very good at writing proposals and unlocking sources from public sources or international development grants, even foundations, but talking to investors requires a different language, different metrics, and know how to communicate in their same language. So I think that for us was a learning process. That's why we collaborated with the MBA schools. It was a learning process for all of us on try to learn and strengthen these skill sets and be able to communicate what needed to be communicated to these investors. Obviously, the visibility and the investment brokering was also a part of the program, participation in different investment forums. We partner with networks of impact investors and philanthropy organizations. So it was a lot of exposure, a lot of practicing, a lot of refining the pitches And obviously, that's not the solution for everything, but were steps that were supporting and supported our grantees to diversify these sources of revenue.
Thank you, Monica. You also touched upon, and both Nadesh as well, the importance of changing the risk perception of the investors, and that means speaking the investors' language. And I think that collaboration was especially helpful in kickstarting that process. There are a number of questions in the chat, and I see most of them have been answered. For more information and specific details of the projects, please visit the UNDP AFCIA dashboard and the UNEP-CTCN AFCIA dashboard, where you can get disaggregated results on the types of models, what stage of innovation they were supporting, some key results, but also the wide range of innovation and thematic areas that were covered. Before we move on to closing remarks, I want to give both Nadesh and Monica a minute each now to talk about the next steps. Nadesh, UNEP-CTCN received phase 2 funding, and perhaps you can share a bit about the plan on that. And Monica, UNDP was invited to submit a phase 2 proposal by the Adaptation Fund board. So perhaps you can share a sneak peek of some of the plans for that proposal.
Thank you very much, Alisa. Indeed, AFCIA is continuing not only with UNDP and UNEP-CTCN, but as well as other agencies, UNIDO, WFP, SPC for the Pacific, and we all have different target audience. We all have different modalities to which you can apply to this program. So in the case of UNEP-CTCN, for example, it's a rolling basis selection, and we are in the sourcing process. So please do feel free to contact me, contact us, to get more information. Our webpage also have a specific session on AFCIA 2, where you can see when, how, what are the mandatory requirements, etc. The same for WFP, the same for UNIDO, the same for SPC. We are here to support. You can see in the chart that most of the agencies are providing grants. The CTCN is a bit specific in that sense that we are providing technical assistance. But for the rest, please do contact either Monica or myself and have a look at the WFP, UNIDO's, SPC grants webpage, and do contact us if you have any questions. Monica, would you like to say a word?
Thank you, Nadesh. No, I think you have covered most of it. And as Alisa and you already mentioned, the AFCIA family is growing, and we are very excited to continue collaboration, continue learning from each other, facilitating the ecosystems that we are building in all this AFCIA program at the service of the different grantees. In the case of UNDP, indeed, we are preparing a second proposal for a second phase of AFCIA, and it will be quite similar in general lines, but the main features is that we will work this time with NGOs and CSOs, but also we are planning to give grants to small and medium-sized enterprises and incorporate all the learnings and lessons learned that we obtained in AFCIA 1. So there are some features that will allow us to be more effective in the selection process, in the tailored technical assistance, and in making stronger connections perhaps with institutional actors, private actors. Like, we are just incorporating all these improvements in the second phase. And we expect it, if everything works okay, to start in 2027. Thanks.
Thank you, Monica. And now to close, I would like to invite Radhika again to share a few closing remarks, and Eva as well. I realize that we're short on time, so if you could keep your remarks brief.
Yeah, thank you, Alisa. Really, just to say a big thank you to everybody, to the participants for sharing such insightful experiences today. I also want to say that, you know, the experiences and the lessons that have been captured over these 5 years of the program are both an inspiration and a call to action. Certainly, they are informing the design and the development of the AFCIA 2 phase, AFCIA phase 2 programming. But these lessons are also providing invaluable insights to our broader work at UNDP on locally led adaptation and local action. So I want to conclude by encouraging everyone to look at these detailed analyses and reports that are available, and we look forward to continuing these partnerships to advance local action, to champion and strengthen locally led adaptation and access to climate finance. And with that, thank you, and back to you, Alyssa.
Eva, if you would like to say a couple of words.
Thanks, Alyssa, and thank you thanks to all speakers and partners for the rich discussions and the concrete examples shared today. I would like to close with 3 brief takeaways from the AFCIA journey. The first one is that AFCIA 1 has delivered strong, tangible impact on the ground, and it has generated solid evidence on what works in climate adaptation. So we have now different solutions, locally led adaptation solutions that have proven effective and that are ready for replication and scale. The second is that the most successful projects were those embedded in national context with close collaboration among governments, communities, and implementing partners. So this collaboration remains essential for scaling innovation beyond the pilot phase. And the third is that as we have discussed, AFCIA 1 has been closed, but AFCIA 2 has started and will be even bigger. So AFCIA 2 will ensure continuity while significantly expanding ambition. It creates a strong platform to test and pilot additional adaptation technologies and innovation, and also to scale proven solutions to extend and deepen impacts. So we look forward to continued collaboration with all of you, and we thank you all for your engagement today, and I wish you all a pleasant evening. Thank you.
Thank you to all our speakers, grantees, partners, and to everyone who joined us today. As mentioned, the reports are in the chat. The links are all provided. We hope you can delve deep and further your knowledge about the successes and the lessons of this program. Thank you all and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.